What are we discussing on today's podcast, you ask? Well, we got to discuss the good and the bad from the D-backs Game 1 loss to the Texas Rangers. And then we heard Brandon Pfaadt is making his debut. So we got to discuss what he brings to the rotation and what it means for the rest of the Diamondbacks season, all on today's Locked on Diamondbacks podcast.
You are Locked on Diamondbacks, your daily Arizona Diamondbacks podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome into the Locked on Diamondbacks podcast, part of the Locked on Podcast Network, your team every day. You're listening to the always charismatic host of this podcast, Millard Thomas. I'm a multimedia journalist and I'm a graphic designer, so please go check out my website, millardthomas24.myportfolio.com. On there, you can see all my latest work, from my packages to my articles to my photos and my graphic design. If you want to see more content by me, just follow me on Twitter at CreatorThomas24 for my personal account, or look up Locked on Diamondbacks, both Twitter, Instagram for the podcast handle. And of course, thank you for making Locked on Diamondbacks your first listen every day. Would not be able to do this podcast without you, my loyal listeners, sharing, subscribing, reviewing, doing all that so I could do this podcast for you. Thank you. It's free and available on all platforms. So please continue to tell your friends. And one of those platforms is YouTube. So please hit subscribe on the Locked on Diamondbacks YouTube channel. We are trying to hit 500 subscribers before the end of the month. We are slowly climbing and growing that YouTube channel. So please hit subscribe on the Locked on Diamondbacks YouTube channel. And don't forget, download the SiriusXM app so you don't miss a hometown D-backs pitch, because the SiriusXM app has every D-backs pitch. Just search up Diamondbacks on the app. Now, for today's podcast, let's discuss first Game 1 to the Texas Rangers, because the D-backs took a fat loss, and if felt like they were in control early. They were able to get runs off John Gray each of the first 3 innings, because of course, when we see an early lead for the D-backs with Zach Gallen on the mound, you're like, okay, this is going well for us, because the D-backs after 3 innings were up 4-1. I was like, okay, that's enough. Zach Gallen, that's all he needs. 3-run lead. Of course, he gave up the 1 run in the first inning, which you hate to see, because of course that means the streak is broken. But it's like, okay, you still got a 3-run lead. You're still up 4-1 after 3. Like, Zach Gallen's still going to give you 6-7 innings, still be dominant and put this game away. But unfortunately, that is not what happened, because the Rangers were able to get a couple off Gallen in the 5th inning. Because I got to give some respect to this Rangers offense. They were battling all night. This is one of the best performances I've seen against Zach Gallen in the last couple of years, and he still only gave up the 3 earned runs. But I thought the Rangers looked fantastic against Zach Gallen. And then, of course, Scott McGough comes in the next inning, and he gives up a 2-run shot to the Rangers. The Rangers take the lead, and the rest is history for the Texas Rangers in the ball game. And the D-backs end up losing Game 1 after being maybe in the driver's seat for most of it, maybe feeling like they were in control, but Gallen in the middle innings, McGough was not able to get it done for the D-backs, and they ended up taking the Game 1 loss. So for a game like this, I think there's more bad to talk about than good. I would have had more good to talk about than bad if the D-backs won, but since the D-backs lost, let's actually first start with the good from this game. And the first good that I want to talk about is the power that was displayed today, because the D-backs did hit 2 home runs. You had a Ketel Marte home run, and anytime you get Ketel Marte driving home runs, whether it be himself or other people, you love to see that. Ketel Marte had 2 RBIs, 2 hits in this one. He just doesn't come through enough in run scoring opportunities, so it's nice to see a 2 RBI game from him. Who was able to come through in 2 chances. His slash line now in the season, 265, 313, 490 after this game. Marte, I think he has looked better than last season, but he's still not back to being Marte. Like, I think Ketel's been good this year, but has he looked like Ketel Marte? No, I think he just looked like an above average major leaguer, but we're going to need to get all-star Marte back for this team to really hit its stride. Also had a Christian Walker home run in this game. Christian Walker, the shaved babyface look seems to be improving his swing because I think he's looked better the last couple of weeks. His slash line now up to 255, 293 needs to get on base more, and then 453 slugging. He had a big opposite field home run and then in this game. And then outside the home runs, it just felt like the D-backs were getting good wood on the ball because what? Was it that 8th inning when you had like Rivera and Longoria up at the plate and the D-backs had a chance to win this game? It felt like the D-backs had a few opportunities. It felt like every ball in that 8th inning was hit to the warning track. It felt like maybe they were going to leave the yard, and unfortunately, none of that happened. But I felt like the D-backs got a lot of good wood in a lot of this game. I felt like they had a lot of near home runs. I don't know if playing in Texas in that ballpark is part of the reason, but I felt like the D-backs were able to get the barrel to the ball a lot tonight. Just a few home runs fell short. A couple went over the fence, but I do like the power displayed by the D-backs tonight. Then my second good takeaway from this game, or positive takeaway, I should say, it's just Dominic Fletcher overall. Dominic Fletcher looks like a 5-year veteran already out there. He looks like he's been playing in Major League Baseball for so long. The poise, the composure from Dominic Fletcher, not just at the plate. We also saw him in the field today make a nice defensive play, but at the plate, Dominic Fletcher just looks so comfortable out there, never looks rattled, looks like he's always waiting for his pitch, can hit pitches that are not in the strike zone, has a large hit radius. And like people were saying, he's a professional hitter. Everyone who's seen this guy, all your all your MLB prospect guys absolutely love Dominic Fletcher. You can see why. And like I've talked about, like with the Alec Thomases who went 0 for 3 this year, or who went 0 for 3 in this game, now is a 186, 260, 326 slash line. Like Alec Thomas, you got to play well if you want to keep playing every day, because if you continue not to hit the ball like the D-backs, we're going to talk about Brandon Pfaadt later. Like the D-backs have to send somebody down to call up Brandon Pfaadt. And I'm not saying Alec Thomas is going to be sent down, but with Dominic Fletcher playing this way, we know Corbin Carroll's a stud, and Lourdes Gurriel has been solid for the D-backs this year. Like Alec Thomas, you play elite defense, but if your bat does not come around, then you could lose your starting spot to Dominic Fletcher. And would I be mad at that? Like the D-backs are in a place where, like they've talked about, they're playing with a sense of urgency. They don't want to get complacent with this season. And of course, they want to give their young guys as much opportunity as possible. And Alec Thomas is one of those guys. But guess what? There's a lot of young talent on this D-back squad, as we're going to discuss later. And if Dominic Fletcher is swinging a better bat and playing solid defense, while Alec Thomas is only giving you that defensive versatility without the offense, then guess what? Dominic Fletcher might start to succeed Alec Thomas in getting at bats, plate appearances, opportunities at the plate. And that's what the D-backs should do. The D-backs should put their best players on the field. They should put their hottest players on the field. And if Dominic Fletcher, so far, it's early. It's a small sample size, but so far, a 600 batting average, 800 slugging. You'll take that from Dominic Fletcher. He had an RBI today, 2 more hits. Dominic Fletcher just looks so comfortable up there at the plate, and he looks like he's been doing it a long time. So I could see the appeal with Dominic Fletcher. I see why people thought he was an interesting talent with maybe some upside as a legit everyday outfielder with maybe some real potential in there. And I definitely see with Dominic Fletcher in this small sample size. So he's putting everyone on notice in the outfield, and it just goes to show you can't get complacent, and you got to play with a sense of urgency if you're with the D-backs, because your job can be replaced at any moment. Now let's talk about some of the negative takeaways from this D-backs game 1 loss to the Texas Rangers. But before we get there, one positive thing that I do want to talk about is Rocket Money, because have you ever discovered any subscriptions that you forgot about? Well, Rocket Money is a personal finance app that finds and cancels your unwanted subscriptions, monitors your spending, and it helps you lower your bills all in one place. Over 80% of people have subscriptions they forgot about, and chances are you're one of them. Like that Stars app just to watch one show, or that free gaming trial you never actually used. Rocket Money will quickly and easily find your subscriptions for you. Just hit cancel and Rocket Money will cancel it for you. It's that easy. Rocket Money always helps you manage all your finances in one place and automatically categorizes your expenses so you can quickly track your budget in real time and also get alerted if anything looks off. Over 3 million people have used Rocket Money. saving the average person up to $720 a year. So stop throwing your money away, cancel your unwanted subscriptions, and manage your expenses the easy way by going to rocketmoney.com/lockedonmlb. That's rocketmoney.com/lockedonmlb. rocketmoney.com/lockedonmlb. All right. Let's get back into the podcast and let's discuss the negative takeaways from this game against the Texas Rangers, because again, this felt like a game that the D-backs were not in complete control of, but the momentum felt like when you have Zach Gallen on the mound, you feel good about what he can do for this D-backs team. You feel like every time he goes out there, especially when he has a scoreless streak like he had entering game one, you're like, okay, Gallen's on the mound. D-backs are winning tonight. Hammer the under for this game, at least for the Texas Rangers. Smash that D-backs money line. And it did not happen tonight because Zach Gallen is human, and he looked human in today's game. 5 innings, 7 hits, 3 earned runs. And that's where I want to start my first negative takeaway. RIP Zach Gallen streak, because this didn't even have a chance to gain an inning on it because the Texas Rangers scored in the first inning against Zach Gallen. And for him tonight, it was a pretty weird game when you look at the StatCast, like what was up with Zach Gallen, because his pitches still looked pretty damn good, but that four-seam fastball, like the Rangers just weren't fooled on it, and the exit velocity wasn't crazy. It only averaged like an 84.5-mile-an-hour exit velocity on the fastball, but he was living in the middle of the zone with the fastball, like Zach Gallen does, because he loves to pound the zone, and he caught a lot of play with that fastball, and the Rangers, you go look at a lot of their hits were off Zach Gallen's fastball tonight. Now, they weren't crushing it, but they were hitting it right to the open spots. They were on it every single time, getting good barrels to the ball. And it felt like the Rangers were just locked into that Zach Gallen fastball. The curveball, I thought, was really effective. The cutter was good as well. The exit velos are a little bit higher on that curveball and cutter, but it felt like the fastball was the pitch that these Rangers batters were keying in on and looking for, and whenever they felt like they got that pitch over the middle, they were able to go and attack Zach Gallen. Like, Gallen was still able to make some pitches in here. There was that one, I think it was the 5th inning where Gallen made a big strikeout. You thought he was going to get out of the inning, and then all of a sudden, line drive, scores a couple of Texas Rangers, and they get within 1 run, and you're like, dang, Zach Gallen is human. But at one point in that inning, it felt like he was going to escape after he got that strikeout. He made a nasty pitch. You feel like you're in pretty good position, like it was 1st and 3rd. You felt like Zach Gallen could have got a double play ball potentially, but instead, Marcus Semien singles to left. That scores 1 Texas Ranger, actually. Then the very next guy gets the hit too. That scores the second one. So Zach Gallen gives up back-to-back singles to score 2 runs. And you're like, this is not the normal Zach Gallen that I'm accustomed to. And so credit to the Texas Rangers for coming after Zach Gallen today, because that 5th inning, I was like, whoa. After that strikeout, I was like, okay, he's going to escape out of this with a double play ball, and then gives up back-to-back singles that scores 2 more runs before he gets the double play ball. Very surprising. But one thing that wasn't surprising was Scott McGough coming in and mucking it up, because that is something Scott McGough has done a lot this year. If you remember against the San Diego Padres, where he gave up back-to-back home runs, including the walk-off home run, there's been a few games this year where Scott McGough is coming in and either blown it or, made it a closer game for the opposing team, yada, yada. Like, Scott McGough has not been clutch for the D-backs this season. And even though Zach Gallen wasn't great today, he's still left with a 4-3 lead. And in that 6th inning, Scott McGough said, let me give this away, because he gave up a 2-run shot to Duran. And that was all the Texas Rangers needed to take a lead in this game. Scott McGough is someone who just should not come in high leverage moments. And he's someone that has to pitch. Like, whoever is in your bullpen on the active roster will get innings, will get opportunity. It just matter of when those opportunities should be. And it's like, it was a 6th inning. That's like kind of the perfect time to bring in Scott McGough. You're up 1 run in the 6th inning. It wasn't like it was a closing save situation. Like you would think a 6th inning time of the ball game should be a good opportunity for McGough to get back on track. A game within 1 run, so it's high pressure stakes as well. And McGough was just not able to get it done. The Rangers were once again able to attack these D-backs pitchers, and they were able to really put in some work. That 5th, 6th, and 7th inning, the Rangers got at least 1 run apiece in each of those 3 innings, and the D-backs after the 3rd, the D-backs got nothing offensively, and just a disappointing game overall with how it started with the D-backs offense. with Zach Gallen pitching, and then how it ended with the Rangers taking complete control of this game. Really disappointing to see, and Scott McGough is a big reason it went that way. Then just in that 7th inning, just to add insult to injury, when it felt like the D-backs could potentially climb, only 1-run game, you had Kyle Nelson on the mound. He gets 2 on. You feel like Kyle Nelson might give up a run, and then he makes a nasty pitch basically in the dirt to get a strikeout. Kevin Ginkel comes in the game. He's trying to escape the inning, still preserve the 1-run lead. Kevin Ginkel, wild pitch, score Simeon from third. And when you see something like that, you're like, you're just not going to win the game today. The omen is bad. The signs are bad. The baseball gods are not on your side. So once I saw that Kevin Ginkel wild pitch, I knew this game was over, and I was no longer happy. And I was like, okay, get this game off my TV, because I don't feel like the D-backs are winning it tonight. They did not, but that does not mean they can't win game 2 with the rookie phenom on the mound in Brandon Pfaadt, who we're going to discuss next. And Brandon Pfaadt is someone that you could say is a pretty rare player, a pretty rare prospect. And speaking of rare, let's talk about our new sponsor, So Rare, a revolutionary fantasy baseball game and marketplace transforming fans into owners with officially licensed digital cards featuring players from across all 30 MLB teams. Unlike other fantasy baseball platforms, So Rare managers truly own their fantasy experience, collecting, buying, selling, and competing with player cards against global opponents to win epic rewards. Win or lose, you still own your cards, and there's no cost to play. Plus, the more you win, the more you advance, collecting increasingly powerful cards and accessing next-level competition and rewards. MLB game weeks happen twice weekly and span a 3 to 4 day cycle. At the end of game week, So Rare MLB managers who rank at or near the top of their leaderboard to win a variety of rewards, which can include So Rare scarcity cards, game tickets, merchandise, signed jerseys, and VIP experiences like meeting MLB stars. Prizes may vary depending on the competition. So head to SoRare.com/lockedon. That's spelled SORARE.com to draft your team of free player cards. Set your lineup and start competing today to win epic rewards. Again, that's SoRare.com/lockedon to start playing today. All right. Let's get back into the podcast and let's discuss Brandon Pfaadt's debut with the Arizona Diamondbacks, because Pfaadt is starting in game 2 against this Texas Rangers team. As you guys are hearing this, it is Brandon Pfaadt Day. So let's rejoice. Let's discuss, because this is someone that we've been waiting to see debut since the season has started, since we've seen him in spring training, since we've heard about him breaking out last season, because after having one of the all-time minor league seasons where he had over 200 strikeouts last season, everyone has waited for the debut of Brandon Pfaadt this year, because we all knew it was going to happen. There's going to be times I call him Fat. His name is Pfaadt, but Pfaadt is finally on the big league level, and he comes at a perfect time because the D-backs rotation is quietly kind of desperate for Pfaadt to be good and be good immediately, because the D-backs rotation has major concerns right now when you look at the rest of the rotation past the Zach Gallens and the Merrill Kellys of the world, because so far, if you want to combine the ERA of all starters not named Zach Gallen and not named Merrill Kelly, the ERA of all those starters is 7.05 with a 6.06 FIP over their 17 starts. And I get it. A lot of that is Madison Bumgarner, who is completely anchoring that ERA and has been really bad for the D-backs this season. But even outside Mad Bum's 10.26 ERA or whatever it is, like, I feel like that number is going to be emblazed in my head for so long. This D-backs rotation, even outside Mad Bum, really hasn't been that great, right? Because you look at the rest of the rotation behind Merrill Kelly, Ryan Nelson, the rookie, who was really good last season, that small cup of coffee, who was decent, solid to start the year, has really struggled over his last 3 starts, and on the season has a 6.39 ERA. Seems to be getting worse as the season goes on. Maybe wearing down a little bit, maybe hitting that rookie wall, and we're only in the month of May, so we might have to do something there. Dre Jameson was looking really good as a reliever. There was definitely some inconsistencies in his game, but once he had to fill in for the injured Zach Davies, that's where kind of just snowballed a little bit for Jameson, who is now back in the minor leagues because of his lack of fastball consistency and inability to command secondary stuff. And I think in his first start with Reno, we saw a lot of that be continued. So hopefully Dre Jameson could get back on track, because when Dre Jameson is right, he's electric. And I still think he's probably a better long-term answer than a Ryan Nelson, but maybe Brandon Pfaadt is really the answer to all the D-backs problems, because Brandon Pfaadt is a man. This dude is a beast. This dude is a tank, because when you see him on the mound, he's humongous. First of all, this dude is built like an NBA player, a linebacker in football. He's 6'4". He's 220 pounds. He was taken in the 5th round in the 2020 MLB draft. So this is not someone who spent a lot of time in the minor leagues. And during his minor league career, if you look at his numbers, pretty strong record overall, 21-15 with a 3.58 ERA across 56 games with 1 complete game thrown in there. So the numbers are very good for Brandon Pfaadt. And don't forget, he's had some time in Reno on the AAA level. And in Reno, you can't even look at ERAs, because ERAs are jumping all over the place in that league, because it is a hitter-friendly ballpark. And so you always got to be mindful of your pitching stats down there, because a lot of those pitchers are just going to have jacked stat lines, and it might not really tell the story of how good they're pitching. And of course, Brandon Pfaadt is a stud. So if he had like a 3.9 ERA in AAA this season, that's more like probably like a 3.1 ERA in AAA, to be honest, with that, how that ballpark is and how runs just seem to be flying across the scoreboard in Reno. So don't look too deep into the pitching numbers for those D-backs prospects in Reno. But when you look at some of the deeper numbers for Brandon Pfaadt, opposing batters were only hitting .235 against him, and he had 408 strikeouts to 67 walks with a 1.1 whip in 324 innings across all levels. So this is someone who's a complete strikeout machine. I mean, of course, when you have over 200 strikeouts in a singular season, of course you're a strikeout machine. And so far this season with the Reno Aces, like I said, he had a 3.91 ERA in 5 starts to go along with 30 strikeouts, 6 walks, a 1.18 whip, 245 batting average against in 25 innings. And like I said, when you see that 3.1 ERA, just flip that 9-1. It's more like a 3.19 ERA, because talking to Nash Walker, he's like, yeah, he's pitched way better than what that ERA even suggests. He looks freaking nasty out there. So Brandon Pfaadt, I think, is someone that could make an immediate impact on this D-backs team, because when you look at his arsenal, he's a guy that tops out around 96, 97. Probably more likely going to sit in the mid-90s. He's a big fastball pitcher. Also got a mid-80s slider as his probably go-to secondary pitch. He also has a mid-80s changeup. So this is someone, and a curveball too. So this is someone I think is just going to rack up and garner a whole ton of strikeouts, which you always love to see, right? It's always more exhilarating and more electric, because if it's a pitching duel, you can only do so much to make that fun. And I think when you have a pitcher on the mound just striking out dude after dude, and you see the little ticker, that Circle K ticker just climbing in Chase Field, I think that's really exhilarating, really a lot of fun. So Brandon Pfaadt being someone that could rack up a whole lot of strikeouts is going to be a lot of fun for this D-backs team. And another rookie in the rotation. We've seen Ryan Nelson, we've seen the Dre Jamesons, and now the Brandon Pfaadts are making their debut. We've also had Tommy Henry. Like, the D-backs are loaded with young talent, and like we've talked about, they're going to ride the hot hand. They're going to play their best players, and maybe you move a Ryan Nelson to the bullpen or a Dre Jameson. Like, there's so many spots. Like, it's not like the bullpen is loaded with dudes. There's like 4 guys I trust. The rest of the bullpen, it's like you can mix or match any of these starters who have been struggling, maybe throw them in the bullpen if the D-backs want to go that route. I wouldn't be mad at all. So let's rejoice. So excited for Brandon Pfaadt's debut. At the time of you guys listening to this, it will be the day of his debut. So let's get excited. Let's all pray that Brandon Pfaadt is the answer to the rotation problems we've been looking for. Now, that's it for this edition of the Locked On Diamondbacks podcast. Thank you to everyone who tuned into today's podcast. Come back tomorrow for more Diamondbacks news coverage and insight. Don't forget, you can catch every D-backs pitch on your hometown broadcast when you download the SiriusXM app and search Diamondbacks. Thank you for making Locked On Diamondbacks your first listen every day. If you do listen every day, put hashtag everydayer in the comment section on YouTube. And as always, stay safe, stay healthy. Doses.